All right, so tonight's Tuesday Notary Tune-up, we're going to go over the cost of a mistake, your errors and omissions insurance shield. So as we're going over the introduction of your reality in the role of a notary public, you may become a notary signing agent. However, you're you aren't just stamping a paper. You are the final gatekeeper of a multi-hundred thousand dollar real estate transaction. Humans make mistakes all the time. So again, when it comes to errors, we may miss an initial or a late drop off can stall a closing, costing thousands in rate lock extensions or lost interest. That's where errors and omissions E&O insurance comes in with your professional quote unquote malpractice insurance. So the goal is to make sure you understand what insurances or protections you should have set up based on what service offerings you are going to have in your business. So again, making sure you have this information is going to be very, very important. Errors and omissions versus notary bonds, the common myth. Well, let me first go over what an error and omission insurance cover. E&O specifically covers anything that is an error with your actual notary certificate, your notarial certificate that's on the document, where when it says person personally appeared before me. If you misspell that person's name, guess what? You made an error. Okay, that could hold up that paperwork from moving forward. If you happen to forget to add your expiration date for your commission, that is a omission because it wasn't added, which is a part of the full execution of a notarial certificate to be notarized. So you want to make sure you understand the difference with the errors and omissions, what it actually does protect and what it don't. So in what it is that we need to focus on as a notary public, errors and omissions only covers the protection of the notarial certificate on a document. If you are taking on responsibilities of curring the documents, printing the documents, having access to it through your computer, where now you have confidential information transferring over to your actual device, these can lead to several other situations that you're going to want more than just the errors and omissions insurance as a general notary. So we'll go over that a little bit more. But right now with the errors and omissions versus notary bonds, let's go over the correction. Many new notaries think their state required bond protects them. It does not. A bond. It protects the public from your mistakes. If the bond pays out, the surety company will come to you for the reimbursement. Now, when it comes to errors and omissions insurance, it protects your bank account and assets. It pays for your legal defense and any settlements if you are sued for a professional error. Please keep in mind, the state of North Carolina does not require or encourage a bond for notaries here in this state. Other states actually do require a bond more so than errors and omissions. You got to know exactly what you need to know for your state. However, during these TNTs, the focal point is North Carolina. However, when we as North Carolina Commission notaries talk to other state notaries, it's good to have a little bit insight of what to expect or what one state may do than the other. And again, North Carolina is very different in so many levels. So you want to make sure that you understand here our focal point is errors and omissions and professional liability insurance. So when it comes to the North Carolina landscape, the rule is that the North Carolina errors and omission insurance is not legally required to hold a commission. However, the reality is just because it isn't a law doesn't mean it isn't a requirement for work. So when it comes to the market standards, most national signing services And title companies will not even put you on their roster without a minimum level of coverage. Relying on non-required status is a fast track to zero signings. So let's break down what professional liability insurance is. It is insurance that covers your profession, okay? So depending on what you do in your business, every business owner should have professional liability insurance. That way, if there's any situation of, again, monetary damage toward a customer or client, you do have some coverage for protection. So, again, as a business owner, you want to have, again, the professional liability insurance. If you decide to have a business that's an LLC, it's limited liability coverage for that entity. And you definitely still want to have a policy for professional liability insurance for the purpose of the business. I want to make sure you understand when you have the professional liability insurance, it does incorporate errors and omissions. Okay, so the errors and omissions is covered through the professional liability insurance. However, errors and omissions does not cover professional liability insurance. There is a difference. And once you can talk to a insurance agent on the level of business coverage, now you can get in the details of what all you do in your business and what you want to make sure that your coverage is going to protect you from. So, again, all of that is going to be very important. So when you think of coverage amounts, you have a lot of industry standards for your errors and omissions of $100,000. Professional liability insurance, however, I cap it at 1 million plus because there is a wide gap, and let's explain why. The $100,000 policy for errors and omission is often considered the entry level, ideal for standard. Again, the word is standard notary work. It covers basic errors and keeps you eligible for many platforms. So basically, again, if someone's looking for a notary near them and it's for general notary documents, it could be estate planning documents, it may be a power of attorney, it could be a consent for minor document, it could be a bill of sale. It could be MVR 191 form. Once again, you have these different directories for general notary work that you can be listed in the area where someone is looking for a notary. You may be able to get notifications for that. Now, for those of you that are signing agents, you are in a different category because you have more responsibilities. You're not just going to someone's home when you are hired by a company to actually notarize a document based on it being a real estate mortgage closing document. So these are higher stakes, and you want to make sure you understand the difference between general notary work and taking a responsibility to this magnitude where you are, again, responsible for receiving the documents, to print the documents, to courier the documents. And these are the different levels of what responsibilities are you are now incorporating. Instead of you going to a person's home to notarize a document just to actually show up with your notarial stamp and seal and your notary journal for best practices, you are going to properly identify them, look over the documentation, make sure there's no blanks, and then you can move forward with notarizing the document when it comes to the notarial certificate. Once you actually notarize that document, record the information in your notary public journal, now you can depart from the customer and be on your way. But guess what? The only thing you're taking with you is exactly what you brought with you, which is your notarial stamp, okay, and your journal. Nothing else. But as a signing agent, we bear the responsibility of holding someone's confidential information, whether it is in our, should say, on our technology, our smartphone, our laptop and or computer, or even your tablet. This information is now in your possession electronically. So, what happens with a electronic or internet attack? Okay, when someone's hacking, that's a cybercrime. So, cybersecurity is something you want to consider for cybersecurity protection. There is cybersecurity insurance also that you will want to actually consider having when you're handling information like this, because we are also covering the documents, taking more responsibility beyond just meeting someone to notarize their documents in their possession. We need to make sure we're having what again we call professional liability insurance to protect those confidential documents. If you stop at a fast food restaurant to pick up something to eat and you decide not to go into the drive-through and you're just going to lock your car door, go inside to get something and come back out, you may see that someone had broken into your car, took everything that you had inside, including the documents that they don't know anything about. But guess what? Now your customer's information has been compromised. So here we are where you need to have protection in situations like that. Pray that it never happens. But again, this is just an idea to think about. Now, going back to the slide, the $1 million is a gold standard when it comes to why jump that far. So again, $100,000, great for errors and omissions, dealing with what we normally handle on a day-to-day for general notary work. But when you're working as an apostille facilitator and courier and or a signing agent that has the same similar responsibilities, you want to have the $1 million. So commercial and high value, large scale commercial deals and luxury real estate often mandate $1 million in professional liability. The peace of mind that it would give in a litigious society. Again, litigation is something that we deal with on so many levels in business. So again, knowing that that is a possibility, you want to make sure that your $100,000 is not just limited to that 100,000 because it can go away very quickly when you're dealing with a lot of legal fees before a settlement is even reached. So, as a professional, carrying $1 million signals to high end title companies that you are a serious and low risk professional. So, that's the goal of how we want to present ourselves is that we're serious about our business. So, if you really want other people to take you seriously and pay a certain amount for you to do the work that you say you are able to do proficiently, show them how that is to be true. You got to set yourself up for success. So the conclusion is best practice is best business. So the cost of doing business. Errors and omission is an investment. It's all about how you set your mind to think about what you're doing. It's not an expense. It's a business expense, okay, when you're wanting to think of everything that you're putting into the business as far as your investment financially as well as your time that you cannot get back. So it's significantly cheaper than a single lawsuit when you set yourself up for this. And my final advice to you is don't wait for a mistake to happen to realize you are underinsured. That's like too late. Aim for $100,000 as your baseline. However, strive for 1 million to unlock the highest paying opportunities in the industry. Again, do yourself a favor and your business. And in closing, protect your commission, your reputation, and your wallet. If you're wanting to have an idea of what type of policies you may want to consider, I personally have his Cox Insurance. I have been with them since 2007. Viborg is another common name in the industry that a lot of notaries speak on, and I understand their price point is a little less than his Cox. However, you want to make sure you're doing yourself a favor by getting different quotes. The rule of thumb is to have at least 3 to 5 quotes from different companies so you can really make sure you're getting the most selection for you to choose from. Again, getting someone on the phone after you may have done a general quote online. That general quote is not enough because you do really want to talk to someone to give them the details of everything that you're doing that you want to have the right coverage. So do yourself a favor. Yes, it can be tedious. You may be on the phone for a few minutes, but again, is it not worth you making sure you're making the right decision financially for the protection of yourself and your business? So take the time just to make the time. And again, Hiscox, Byberg are again companies that do offer several different types of insurances. Hiscox, I know personally, covers all of the different insurances. I have general liability insurance, professional liability insurance with the errors and omissions that's inclusive, and then cybersecurity insurance. So to know that all of these policies can be covered with this company is worth what I've been able to build over the years with them, and I am very satisfied. Now, again, Bob Burke, you want to make sure you talk to someone to ask what all of the different coverages they do have for insurance, so you can feel rest assured you have the right company when it comes to a decision you make. And again, just take the time to look over other companies that may speak on our type of services that we offer for coverage so you don't feel like you're trying to do things from scratch. But again, I've given you these two that you can work with today. All right. So I thank you guys for coming to the Tuesday Notary Tune-up. If you are watching the replay, please subscribe, like, and share this with fellow notaries. Sharing is caring, and our goal is to reach that 1,000 subscriber, okay, this quarter. So each one teach one. Let others know that this is the place that they can get factual information for the state of North Carolina. For those that are new notaries, those that are seasoned notaries, again, no matter what level you're at, you can benefit and contribute to exactly what's been shared today. So if you got value, please do state in the comments below what your value that you got out of this was. And if you have any comments or statements, please share because again, the goal is to make sure we have engaging audience to actually help others with questions they may have, but they're kind of shy. But for those that have known me for a few years now, have followed me, have had some of my trainings, please do take the time to again give a little bit more when it comes to your comments. And I, again, humbly appreciate you. Thank you all for your support. And I look forward to actually seeing you guys next Tuesday at 6:30 for our next Tuesday Notary Tune-up. So, like I always say, always be learning.